Austin, officially welcome to the Wealth Juice podcast. We're stoked to have you on the show, man. You came from a very good friend of ours, highly recommended. And then, of course, I'm doing my due diligence on like who we want on the show here. And I'm like, you're all over the internet. Now I'm seeing your face everywhere. 12 companies, $3 billion in real estate. Like, I'm like, this is going to be fun, man. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's good to be here.
Cool. So, all right. So for people that don't know you, man, like just give us a little background on who you are and how you went into this entrepreneurial world, right? I mean, it's a crazy one out there. It seems like you've been doing it for a long time. So just tell me about a little bit about your background and where the spark was for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think I was destined to be an entrepreneur. You know, I think a lot of people are kind of born. I think, you know, maybe it can be acquired, right? The age old debate. But I think for me, it was just something that I don't see how my life could have turned out any other way, you know? So I was always an entrepreneur at heart, grew up, you know, very, very humble beginnings, you know, grew up with my grandpa and grandma. They raised me actually in their garage. My room was in the garage, right? And so, you know, I started cleaning pools at like 8 or 9 years old here in Arizona. Obviously, everybody's got a pool, and turned that into a really solid little business as a young kid, you know, and I ended up getting to a point probably by 10 or 11 years old where I was making, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 a month in cash. And so that was really cool, you know, but, you know, kind of fast forward, did that for a long time, ended up, you know, turning 15, 16 years old, worked a lot of regular jobs. So, you know, didn't know really what direction I wanted to go. So I had to kind of make money because I didn't come from money. And so, you know, I worked at a pizza place. I did road construction. I did all kinds of stuff. And then I ended up getting into network marketing. Did that for a couple of years. That really changed my kind of paradigm on the world and how much abundance there is in the world, and got to meet a lot of really cool people. But ultimately, network marketing kind of came to an end. And I got into real estate basically right when I turned 18. So I ended up getting into wholesaling real estate. That was the first thing that I ever kind of did. Hired a coach, hired a mentor, you know, didn't know anything about real estate. And then kind of one thing led to the next. And now fast forward to today. You know, we own multiple very large real estate companies, several other companies, started a lot of companies along the way. A lot of them didn't work out. But yeah, you know, now we're really blessed to kind of be in this situation that we're in.
Yeah, man. I mean, 5 billion in real estate sold. I'm reading this in your bio. So it sounds like you have a lot of real estate adjacent companies now.
Yes.
Like I'm looking at pest control and roofing and stuff like that. So, or maybe it's just one roof investment group. Maybe that's not actually roofing, but I'm just like curious about, there's a lot of people out there that are like, go all in on one thing, right? And get so good at it. And block out all the noise and don't do anything else. I'm curious at what stage you realized, okay, like I'm pretty good at this real estate thing. I can actually take some turns in other directions. And I don't know how much you're actually like in the weeds managing these multiple companies, but just talk to us about like the focus and when you decided, all right, I can branch out a little bit from, you know, to go take this fork in the road, take that fork in the road from something that, you know, away from the exact thing that you were already doing.
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. So I made the mistake all throughout my 20s of dabbling in things that didn't vertically integrate with real estate, right? Because real estate was the thing that I was the best at. I did it, you know, from like 17 and a half, 18 years old, all the way till now I'm 30 years old. So I've been in real estate full time for 12 years. And so throughout my 20s, though, you know, in the process of building these real estate companies, I started an ATM company. I owned an exotic car rental agency. I owned a marketing agency. Like I did a lot of this kind of like weird stuff that didn't actually align with real estate. And so that was actually a mistake. Like looking back in retrospect, you know, hindsight's 2020. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't do that again, right? I would have just doubled down on real estate. I would have gotten the companies even bigger. And then I would have kind of branched off and did what I did, right? And so I think for me, I just did it too soon. And I did it in the wrong industries. I did it in industries that actually took me away from real estate entirely. And so I ended up shutting all those companies down or sold them, you know, kind of one or the other. And then, you know, really fast forward, I just doubled down on real estate, right? So I had two main real estate companies that I was building, One Roof Investment Group, which you mentioned, and then Space Real Estate, which is our retail real estate team. And so those are kind of the two bread and butter real estate companies. I ended up getting those like really, really large, right? Like we're we're the number one real estate team in the state of Arizona with space real estate, and we're like top 10 in the country. And then with One Roof, we're top 5 in the nation as well on the wholesale side of things. So those are kind of the two things that allowed me to get to a point where I was able to say, okay, what can I do now that vertically integrates with real estate? Like what can I do to add on to what I'm already doing, but that doesn't totally take me away from what I'm doing? And so, we started a mortgage company, an insurance company, a title company, a pest control company, and then a media company to kind of service all the companies that we own. And so that really now is my portfolio, right? We own those kind of handful of companies, and they all vertically integrate. They all work hand in hand. And I'm never kind of like doing something that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing, right?
So if you've ever tried getting a mortgage, which I'm sure many of you have, you know how daunting and discouraging it can be of a process. The slow process, paperwork, being told no without any real explanation. One time we were even told that taking out a home equity line of credit on an investment property wasn't even possible. So that all changed when we were introduced to Neo Home Loans. What makes Neo different is literally how they approach lending. They're not just checking the boxes. They're legit problem solvers. They look at your entire financial picture and explore multiple angles, literally until they find a strategy that works. They helped us reposition our portfolio, pull out lines of credits to scale, and structure everything for long-term growth. And on top of that, their rates were some of the most competitive that we've seen. They just literally did whatever it takes to find a solution. For us, Neo has become our liability advisor. The same way you have a financial advisor on the asset side for the liabilities. If you're serious about building wealth through real estate, it's worth sitting down with them and getting your lending strategy dialed in. If you want to book a call with them, click the link in our show notes. Their team is unreal, but don't just take it from us. Find out for yourself. It's shocking to me how you're on, the scale that you're on is so much far and above what I'm doing. But it's just like interesting because I started out as an investor and then sharing my story on the media side just to get it out there. And then now I mentor people and coach people and teach them how to buy their first rental property. Okay, that's adjacent to that. And I'm an agent, and I realize that all the adjacencies of doing this makes each of the individual ones so much easier, and I get better at each of them. So I didn't realize before I was an agent how little most agents know about investing. I thought a lot of agents invest, and I'm like, wait a second, like I have like a niche here. Like I house hacked. Ryan and I own over 90 units. And then I found it so seamless to help people because I'm looking at it as an investment. And I thought all these agents knew the numbers, and a lot of them don't. So I found that adjacency, kind of like you said, to be so perfect and not to branch out into different areas. I think it's great. I want to talk to you about, or ask you really about the come up and the stages of building something that's this big. I'm curious on what you think you did to separate yourself in your early 20s. And I asked the question because it's like, who wants to trust a 23-year-old? And like I guess the word would be that I'm just making an assumption here. Maybe you were like so polished that it actually ended up working out. But like, how did, in the beginning stages when you're 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, how did you gain trust and build your client base and build a business with, looking like a baby, basically?
Yeah, man. It's a great question. I think probably a couple of different things. I think number one is just work ethic, right? And it's super cliche, but everybody says they're the hardest worker in the room, but like most people are lying through their teeth, So I think obsession is something that people think that they have, but that they don't, most of them don't have, right? So like, I've been obsessed with being number one since I got into the game, So, and what that means in practicality is literally sacrifice, right, on every level. I didn't do almost anything that normal people do. I worked literally 7 days a week, 16, 17, 18 hours a day, every day. And I was totally obsessed. I didn't go to the dentist for 10 years. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't get my blood work. I didn't have a relationship. Like I didn't go to family functions. I blocked my family's phone numbers in my phone. Like, it sounds crazy, but like I was obsessed. And I think that was the number one thing that I did, and I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it, right? Like, I don't actually think that a lot of people should probably do what I did because it can take a toll on a person. There was many years where like I was depressed and I, was like, man, like it, is what I'm doing going to pay off? And like, will it be worth it? So I think that few people should actually take that approach, but that was one thing that I did. Right. And so now I'm kind of like reverse engineering and trying to like maybe have a tiny bit more balance, but there's no such thing as balance ultimately. But I'm trying to get better. Obviously now I'm married, we want to have kids, and so, I'm doing my best to kind of like approach life a little bit different, but at the end of the day, like I'm still obsessed. I still work harder than anybody in the room, and I think that was a big deal, right? People can see the work ethic, like you don't have to, it's one of those things that you don't have to really talk about it. You can just be about it. And people will know like, oh man, like this guy's going to work harder than any other real estate agent to sell my house. This guy's going to sit more open houses than anybody else on the planet. Like you can just you can be about it. Right. And so I think that was a big one for me. And then, yeah, I always drove a nice car, right? I looked the part. I wore a nice watch, like I presented myself as somebody who was 10 years older than they really were. Right. And I think that probably went a long ways, so, I don't know, man. I think that anybody can do it. I think that we live in a day and an age now where age is just a number. I think a lot of people understand that now. And I think that anybody can kind of position themselves as the expert, but you got to have expert level knowledge too, right? Like, I think that was the other piece of it. Like, I knew about real estate at the highest level. Like, if I knew, I could tell you everything about a neighborhood. I could tell you everything about a city. I could tell you everything about a zip code. I could tell you every piece of data on the fly in real time without looking it up. Like, you couldn't stump me on information. Like, I knew the information in and out. And I think that went a long ways too, right? Like I not only looked the part, I worked the part, and I knew the part, right? Like it was like all three kind of was the trifecta, I think, that got me to where I am today.
Well, we're of similar age. I'm a little bit older. I'm just turned 34 recently, and you just mentioned that you're 30. I'm curious, this is maybe going to be an odd question, and I don't mean it like in terms of full regret, but I'm curious, do you regret any of that mindset in your 20s, or do you feel like, no, this was the perfect way for me to set up my 30s? And I ask because I'm curious if there's a shift upstairs in between your ears. Like when you hit your 30s, are you like, no, I actually, marriage, kids, like it's a different ball game. I'm engaged. I'm going to be married soon. Kids are coming. I'm like, do I want to be the same level of intensity that I felt in my 20s? I'm curious on your take on that. Or do you feel like, no, this is just, I'm wired this way. Like there's no stopping this ball.
I think to a degree I'm wired that way and there is no stopping it. But I think that when you grow out of your 20s, if somebody was to do it the way that I did it, first of all, I think if you're in your early 20s and a person's watching this, like if you want to become somebody in this world, be obsessed and go all in and sacrifice everything. I actually don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with what I did because, again, you don't have any responsibilities, right? Like my family didn't need me. Sure, they maybe were pissed off that I wasn't at every Easter and Christmas and Halloween and whatever, but like I didn't give a shit. I wanted to become a somebody, and I knew that one day, my family would be fine, right? Like they weren't going anywhere. So like I don't know, I think now obviously one could argue like, yeah, but what if somebody dies or something happens? Like sure, yeah, anybody could get hit by a bus, but you can't live your life like that, I don't think. And so I think in a person's 20s, that is your one opportunity. If you don't have a family, and you don't have kids, and you don't have any inherent responsibility, you should go all freaking in on your future if that's what you want to do. Right now, again, I'm not one of those guys that is a hater on W-2 employees. I have my staff. I pay $250,000 a month in just staff, right? Just strictly W-2 employees. So that doesn't include all of our 1099 contractors and our real estate agents and our wholesale guys and our commission people and all that, right? So I'm a huge believer that W-2 people are very, very important in this world. And I actually am really turned off by the entrepreneurs out there that talk down to W-2 people. So I think it starts with a decision, right? Who do you want to be in this world? If you choose to be an entrepreneur and you want to be somebody that eventually is responsible for a lot of people and you have a lot of overhead and payroll and all of these things and you want to build kind of an empire like that, then great. You need to be obsessed in your 20s. If you want to be a W-2 employee, then do that. You don't need to be obsessed, right? And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, right? Every great entrepreneur has great employees. So I'm kind of sick of the people talking down to employees because I think it's a bunch of BS. But yeah, so to answer your question, my thought process turning 30 now hasn't changed a lot, right? Like I think where it's maybe changed is that I'm more efficient maybe than I used to be, right? So I still work just as hard. I'm still obsessed. I still am gonna, do all the things that I did in my 20s. I just am a bit more efficient, right? I'm not kind of like throwing shit at the wall anymore, right? Like I think in my 20s, you're kind of trying everything. You're saying yes to everything. You're kind of, just going all in every area. And I think in my 30s, I know what works and what doesn't work. And I go all in on the things that work. And I can do it in a shorter period of time. So, I think that that's kind of what it boils down to. But yeah, look, I'm never going to be the guy that goes and sits on the couch. Like I don't watch sports. I don't give a damn about football, basketball, baseball, golf. I don't care about any of that. I don't I care about building an empire right now. And maybe that'll change in my 40s. I don't know. But yeah, man, when I do have kids, I want to be present. But at the same time, I don't want to be like kind of, there is no such thing as balance. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like I think that any great entrepreneur will tell you, like, there's just no such thing. You got to get your family on board with that, and I think if anything, bring your family into the fold. Like my wife works in my company, so I see her all the time. She's in my office right now, right? She's grinding, so like we're in this together, and therefore like I don't need to go home and be like, hey, honey, how was your day? Like, I already know how her day was. She already knows how my day was. Like, now maybe there's little things that we need to catch each other up on. But like at the end of the day, like we're building this thing together. And so I think you got to kind of like, you look at Grant Cardone, or people like that. And there's different people you could look at, but Grant's a good example. You look at Sabrina and Scarlett and Elena, right? First of all, those two ladies, Sabrina and Scarlett, are like unbelievably knowledgeable and talented for the ages that they are. And they're all kind of building the family dynamic together, right? Like they're in it together. And I think that's one way that you can be obsessed and still not like neglect your family, right? And so I think you just have to figure it out. I think for everybody, it looks a little different. There's no right way. But for me, I work very hard, and I don't see myself like kind of doing it any different anytime soon.
I love that business life integration thing that you mentioned. Yeah. I think that's the right way to do it. And I also can tell from the way that you speak that I think you're looking at entrepreneurship the right way. Because, by the way, I have friends that I love to death and they don't want anything to do with entrepreneurship, and they're happy. And that's great. Like, amazing. That is good. That is, they come home from work and they watch Netflix and they do what they want to do. But by the way, that's how they want to live their life. As long as they're not complaining about not having enough or whatever, like, great, good for them. Like, they're winning, So I think that's the way that true entrepreneurship should really work. And I would never talk down. I don't think you should talk down on people at all in any position. I've always noticed that the people that are talking shit on the internet are typically looking up, they're not looking down.
Totally.
Now, however, if you go to a point where you're complaining about what you don't have or being a victim and all that stuff, then I think it changes a little bit. Yep. But I love the mentality. I think that's perfect. I want to talk about wholesaling, actually, and I want to talk about the state of wholesaling in our country. I have some interesting opinions about it. Some people think, you should be licensed. Every state's different. It's predatory. Others are like, this is the, some states it's the Wild West. If you were starting over 20s, 30s, it doesn't matter. I think wholesaling is a low barrier to entry. I think it's a great way to bring in cash. People think it's investing. It's not investing. It's a business, right?
Yep.
How would you get started? Twofold questions. How would you get started today? And do you think, what do you think the future state of wholesaling is across the country?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I own one of the largest wholesaling companies in the nation. We wholesale deals for every big name that you've ever heard of, all day, every day, right? So I think wholesaling will always be around. I think that the methodology in which you conduct that thing will change. And so I think that the people who are genuinely giving the industry a bad reputation will eventually find themselves without a business or a job. And the people who do everything above board will thrive, right? And I think, for us, like, look, we're capable of closing on every deal, right? So like if I wanted to close on every deal and then wholesale it, I could, right? If I wanted to close with transactional funding and then just sell it to the cash buyer the next day, I could do that. If I wanted to just buy them all as flips, I could do that too. I've flipped hundreds of houses, right? So I think for us, we come at it from a little bit of a different angle because I can go hard on my earnest money. I don't need refundable earnest money. I don't need a 10-day inspection. I can go a 0-day inspection and go hard. I know my numbers. My team knows our numbers. We know how to underwrite. I know if I lock up a deal at a certain price, I know that I can sell that deal. It isn't like all these other clown wholesalers that just throw shit at the wall and try to lock up a deal and hope they can sell it within their 10-day inspection period. We're not doing that. So we really approach it completely differently. And I think that's what makes us so successful. But that took a long time to do, right? And so, look, I think for new people, you probably don't want to do direct to seller right out of the gate. I think direct to seller in the format that people teach it is another reason that the industry gets a bad reputation, right? Like I do very little direct to seller anymore. So I've done all the direct to seller, that everybody kind of preaches on the internet. And it's great, but at the end of the day, I make more money getting deals from real estate agents and other wholesalers than I ever did running TV commercials, radio, bandit signs, postcards, direct mail, cold calling, texting, you name it, right? So pay-per-click, right? Whatever. So we make way more money getting deals from real estate agents and other wholesalers, right? So therefore, it removes the predatory conversation entirely because I'm the middleman. I'm no longer going directly to the homeowner and trying to bang them up on price, right? A real estate agent with the relationship with the homeowner is the one bringing us the deal. And then we're just bringing the buyer to that situation, right? So, that is a totally different business model because that homeowner is trusting that agent and that agent's fiduciary responsibilities to that homeowner. And they've already got their thing worked out, right? Like we have no contact with the homeowner. We have contact with the real estate agent. And then we're bringing the cash buyer and we're conducting that wholesale deal. And, and then the other wholesaler is also true, right? That wholesaler has the relationship with the homeowner and then they don't know, they can't find a buyer for it. They bring us the deal and we bring the buyer. And so I think that is like how we've adjusted over the course of time. Doesn't mean we don't ever do direct to seller. We do sometimes, but not like a lot of these other people do. To answer your question on like, how would I get in? I think a lot of people should probably come work for somebody like me to start. Right now, I don't care. They don't need to work for me. Quite frankly, they probably shouldn't work for me because we wouldn't hire everybody. But, there's a lot of people like me in the industry. And I think that's the best way to get into wholesaling, right? Go work for a large wholesaler. Like go learn the ropes. I got guys on my team, on my wholesale team that'll make, $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, $300,000 a year, right? Like these are 21-year-old kids that I have 20-year-olds that can't even legally buy a beer that are making more than their parents combined, and they knew nothing about wholesaling when they came in. They don't own a wholesaling company. They don't have the overhead. They don't have anything. All they got to do is show up to my office and do what we tell them to do. And they make phenomenal money. So I think I would probably start there. Then you learn the ropes. And then if you decide that you want to go from, $250,000 a year to $500,000 a year, whatever, then yeah, you probably need to start your own thing. And then at that point you have the knowledge to be able to do so and you can go do that thing. But yeah, man, I think, look, everybody on my team is licensed. So we're all licensed real estate agents in different states around the country. So I get my salespeople licensed in the respective state that they're going to be wholesaling in. We do everything above board. And we're the anomaly, right? Like we're the people that can't really be taken out by the laws and the rules that are coming down the pipe.
Hey, let me pause the episode real quick. Let me know if this sounds like you. You're making six figures, you're climbing the corporate ladder, investing in your 401k and your Roth IRA, and maybe even a brokerage account. But deep down, you're asking yourself, is this really it? Like, am I just going to do this thing for the next 30 years and hope to retire in my 60s? That was exactly us just a few years back. We were curious and excited about real estate, but overwhelmed and without a roadmap. If you fast forward to today, we've built a portfolio of over 80 cash flowing units and grown our net worth to over $2 million. We made it our mission to help busy professionals like you take that same leap and start building generational wealth for yourself and your family. That's exactly why we created the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, a private real estate investing community designed to help you get your first rental property under your belt in as little as 90 days. Inside, you'll get direct access to us, our full investing network, private off-market deals, and our exact playbook, and a community of investors who are closing deals every single week. That first property changed everything for us. We always talk about it. It was the true foundation for building generational wealth. And honestly, if we had access to something like this when we first started, we'd be 10 times further along by now. So if this sounds just like you, click the link in our show notes and schedule a call with me. Yes, me. I'll be taking the calls. We'll go over your goals, map out a plan, and get you ready to close your first deal. Let's get it. I think that's the best approach, man, because I think when I think of wholesaling, I think of the 20-year-old who has no idea what this property looks like, can't close on it, and is calling Sally, who's 76, who is getting confused. And then the person gets that seller who needs to get out of a tough situation. They get him in more trouble. And I think that's the predatory part. And it's because they're hustling for $1. So I love the approach that you mentioned. I'd actually like to dive in a little bit deeper here. So I've been investing for a while, but newer on the agent side. And I actually love the game. I think it's great. I'm helping a lot of people. The business is growing quick, but I'm curious about the wholesale side of that. So is it more so like the agent? Because if I'm an agent or someone's trying to sell for a seller, they're going to get top dollar on the market. So are you going to their expired listings and then trying to get a deal that way when it didn't sell for what they thought? Like, what's the approach there and the incentive for the agents to want to work with someone like you?
Well, we're not doing like retail deals a lot of times. So these are deals where you got to think when a homeowner wakes up and they need to sell. So here's what happens, right? Like somebody passes away or a house is maybe really beat up or somebody like is getting relocated, whatever the reason is of why somebody would need to sell below market value. Technically, the first person that they call is their real estate agent, right? Now, in most situations, the real estate agent goes to maybe do a listing presentation or they look at that property and they're like, hey, Sally, this is probably not going to sell on the MLS, or that agent is just like they're unfamiliar with how to sell a distressed property on the market, right? And so that agent then brings us the deal, right? Off market. It's more of a pocket listing type of thing. And so you're not looking for the agent that has the pocket listing that is going to go on the market and sell for top dollar, right? Like that isn't typically going to be the deal that we're going to wholesale. We're going to wholesale deals that are distressed, outdated. Somebody is motivated to sell, whatever the case is. They called their agent. Their agent doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Their agent brings it to us and we bring the buyer and we do that deal.
Got it.
And the agent gets paid, of course,
that makes perfect sense. The deal. It's incentivizing because, a lot of agents are like, well, I don't want to do off-market deals because I'm not going to get paid on them based on, that might be like a rookie agent or someone who's not thinking about the long term. But to create a relationship with you, it makes perfect sense. I think it's great. So I'm curious what the focus is for you now. Like you're running a bunch of different companies. I know your brand is growing. What's the goal or the focus or the things that you and your companies are looking forward to doing in, this is going to come out in 2026. It's a brand new year. What's Austin's goals for this coming year?
Yeah, man. Obviously social media is a huge goal of mine. I really want to I'm really trying to figure out my YouTube channel. YouTube is the one platform that, I really do not feel like I am even close to kind of like my potential on YouTube. I think that I could very easily go from 120,000 subscribers to 1 million. And so that's a huge, huge, huge goal of mine. I don't care nearly as much about Instagram, TikTok, or anything like that. YouTube is really, I think people are going to see in 2026, like 90% of my energy on social media will go towards YouTube. And we're really honing in on what we want that to look like and the types of content that we want to do on YouTube. So it's something that me and my team are talking a lot about right now, right? Trying to figure out what is the content that will get me to 1 million subscribers. And we're going to go all in on that one type of content. So previously on my YouTube channel, if you were to look at my main channel, I have a couple of YouTube channels, but if you were to look at my main channel, I have different types of content on there. I had podcasts on there. I had kind of like talking head videos on there, more like educational. I had like business tours on there where I'm like touring other people's kind of like businesses and stuff. I had like house tours on there. And so you're not going to see that anymore. You're going to see going more towards 2026, you're going to see one type of content on that platform. And so I'm very excited about that. And I think it'll be really big. Wholesaling, I think in 2026 we'll probably double. We're getting really close to being an 8-figure annual wholesale company, which is like very few people do that. So that'll be really, really cool. I think getting over that kind of $1 million a month, revenue in wholesaling is kind of like my big focus for that particular company. And then my retail real estate company, our goal is to kind of be like the next, we want to do something that's never been done. So we have 400 agents on our team right now. We'll do about 800 million a year, real close to $1 billion a year in sales on the retail side. Our goal is to get to 10 billion a year. It's never been done. Nobody's ever done it. People normally, when they get to our size, they convert to a brokerage. We want to not do that, actually, and very intentionally. We want to be the first team to have the opportunity to go public on the NASDAQ as a team doing 10 billion a year. So to get there, we need about 5,000 real estate agents on our team nationwide. And so we're working really hard on that. And I think we'll be able to achieve that. We have some really cool things that are kind of coming down the pipeline for that. We're already in like 14 states. We're in Canada. So, that's really cool, right? And so that's kind of a big focus there. And then I would say, Nectar Pest Control, is like probably going to take 50% of my time or more. Like I'm really, really focused on getting that company. My goal is to sell that company in 5 years for 400 million. In order to do that, I need to be doing about 60 million a year in top line revenue at a 30% EBITDA kind of net profit margin. And I need to sell for like an 18 to 20 times multiple on that. And so that's that. And even if we don't sell, my goal is to get it to a place where I could sell it for 400 million. That's kind of my number. I know I have a lot of buddies in the home service industry that have sold to private equity for multiple 9 figures. And so I really am confident that we'll be able to do that. And we're going to have a lot of fun kind of doing that. I need to get about 300 trucks on the road in order to make that happen. And so, we're really focused on that right now. We're having a lot of fun with that. I'm 3 months into pest control at the time of the recording here. And, we're buying our 3rd truck in 3 months. So, I'm going to scale that thing very, very, very fast. I want to be kind of like the biggest pest control company and then from there, we'll take that money and the money from like the real estate companies and stuff. And I'll probably just kind of go maybe the Cody Sanchez route where I start kind of just buying businesses and scaling them, or kind of the Alex Hormozy, I think, route, maybe in like my mid to late 30s where, we take the couple 100 million and we just go start kind of like Shark Tank, but not on national television. Maybe we do our own version of Shark Tank, like on YouTube or something like that, where we're actually just going and investing, buying companies, taking them either public or scaling them and playing the equity or the equity multiple, where we're maybe buying a company at a 3 times multiple, selling it at a 10 times, 15 times multiple by buying multiple companies, kind of packaging them together, scaling them. And going that route. So those are kind of some of our goals. It's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of work.
How does one buy a pest control company? How does that happen? Like, I'm curious. You have major goals for this. I think there's people listening that are interested in. They have a lane that they're trying to pursue. I know. By the way, I noticed that on the internet, it's like so trendy to buy businesses now, and I think it's funny because. The only reason I'm saying it tongue in cheek like this is because like it's not passive to buy a business. People think that you're just going to buy a business and just like sit there and let the company run and you're going to collect. It bothers me that's what like gets spilled out there. It's like when you buy a business, you are the operations until you replace yourself, right? Yeah. So I'm curious on how that came to be. Like, how did you get approached and see this vision with the pest control?
Well, I didn't buy a pest control company. I started from scratch.
You started
right?
It. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So I started it 3 months ago from scratch, very intentionally. I could have bought one. I did. I chose not to because I wanted to learn it from the ground up, and I wanted to be the owner. So I guess like backing up a little bit, I have zero interest in passive anything right now. Right? Like why? Look, if I went home right now on a Friday at 11 o'clock Arizona time, by 12 o'clock. I would be very depressed, right? Like I would be very upset that I'm at home. I would be very anxious. I would want to go do something. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I don't want to go lay on the beach. I mean, you can ask my wife. If I go sit on the beach in 1 hour, I hate my life, right? Like I'm like, we got to get the hell out of here. We got to go do something. Let's go skydiving. Let's go rock climbing. Let's go freaking on a hike. Let's go ride bikes. Let's go. So like, I've got to be doing something, man. I think a lot of people think that they want to be like worth, $10 million and just like sit on the beach. But it's like, nobody actually wants that. Like, go look at all the people that achieve that or are able to do that. None of them do that, right? Like, nobody does that, right? Like, you'd be bored out of your freaking mind. I don't know. I think for me, we help a lot of people. I've almost, let's see, I probably have like a little over 500 people, 600 people maybe between my organizations, that all get paid based on me kind of like waking up in the morning, right? So that's like a lot of families, like if you think about that. And a lot of people are older than me, and like we provide, benefits and healthcare and all sorts of things with all of our different companies. So like that to me is like very fulfilling, right? Like I'm able to, based on my goals and my ambitions, I'm able to help like, 500,000 people like achieve their goals and their ambitions and like what they want to do in their life. And so I'm very fulfilled by doing what I do. So I'm not interested in really the passive thing. Maybe one day, but I don't know. I think for me, but so to kind of come back to your pest control thing, pest control for me, like I'm at this point where like we have everything before the transaction kind of under our umbrella, right? So we can buy a property like, cash, right? So we have kind of that whole investing. Like if I want to flip it, I can flip it. If I want to keep it as a rental, I can keep it as a rental. If I want to wholesale it, I can wholesale it. So we have that. Then we have the retail deal, right? Where we represent buyers and sellers on the retail side for market value. So we have that. We have the mortgage side of it. So we can actually make money by helping these people get a mortgage. We have the title side, right? So when people are running those deals through our title company, we have the insurance side, right? So then I started looking at it and I said, okay, I want to start attacking the back end of the deal, right? Now, because now, once that deal closes, we don't ever make any money again, right? Like, except for insurance, like maybe we make money like, for a while or whatever. But for the most part, we weren't. And so that's kind of why. So I would say home services in general was what I was looking at. And I wanted to get into some type of home service. I just happened to choose pest control for my first home service company. But it could have been garage doors. It could have been air conditioning. It could have been roofing, pools, landscaping. I chose pest control because when I looked at all my buddies that have sold, I know I have a lot of friends that have sold home service companies for like multiple 9 figures. And what I loved about pest control is the annual recurring revenue of pest control gives the multiple on EBITDA like way more than a lot of these other companies. So when I looked at like roofing and I looked at some of these other ones, they weren't getting a fraction of the multiple that pest control was getting. So like private equity really loves the pest control industry. And so therefore I wanted to make that kind of my first one. So I in no way, shape or form had any like emotional connection to pest control. I knew nothing about pest control, quite frankly, three and a half months ago, so but I saw an opportunity, and it's something that I know I can do, and I'm really excited about it, man. And I think that so my goal, hopefully, I'm selling that company when I'm 35, for $400 million, like I said, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe I'll travel for a year or whatever. I don't know, but look, man, I've already done all the traveling. I've already had all the cool stuff, and then I think, like I said, then I'll probably start more companies. I think over time, I'll be just as obsessed at 40 as I am at 30 or 20, but I'll only do the shit that I want to do. Like I'll only do the shit that I love doing. See, I think in my 20s, I did things that I didn't like to do and that I didn't enjoy. Because when you're young and you're just starting out, you just have to say yes to everything, right? But then as you get older and you have more money and more resources and more knowledge, you kind of earn this kind of opportunity sort of to do and only say yes to the people and things that you want to. And so I think it becomes more enjoyable as you go, because even like now, right? Like I don't need to do any of this. Like if I wanted to go right now to Australia for a year, I could, and I could come back. And quite frankly, my companies would scale while I'm gone. Like all my companies are at a point where I have CEOs. I'm not even the CEO of my real estate companies anymore. I have a CEO for both real estate companies. Neither of them are me, right? And I have amazing partners. And we have amazing staff. And like, I don't need to do it. I choose to do it. And I think that brings a different type of joy. And I think everybody ought to push themselves to get to that point, right? Because that is a beautiful place to be. And it's a very fun place to be, because I choose to be at the office today. I don't need to be here. I choose to be here.
Yeah. I mean, that's a winner mentality. It's like where you don't even have to show up, and you're doing it because you've trained yourself kind of almost like military style to do something, and you've learned to love what you do. And then it, like, the rest is history, man. So I love it. As we kind of wind down, I want to get some thoughts from someone like you on the real estate market. So you mentioned 14 states. Now, Arizona is where your real estate company is, and then the other states are wholesale, or are you doing retail sales in other states as well?
Yeah. So when I said 14 states, that's my retail side.
Okay.
So my retail side's in 14 states in Canada, and then my wholesale side is we're probably in like 25 states.
Okay. I'll actually want to ask you about Arizona, and I know that's a big state, but like, you're in Scottsdale, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a partner in a ground up development project in Phoenix that is, so I love that area, just in general for the long term. It's like Silicon Valley 2.0.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of homes, like I was literally like, I live pretty humbly here in Philadelphia, and I was out there and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't even believe the homes that I was looking at. So, but I see all the entrepreneurs and the tech scene. It's awesome. When you listen to national headline news, like Phoenix, they're saying Phoenix is dropping and Tampa and Austin is dropping. And I'm looking at it like, let's zoom out a little bit. If you look over the last 5 to 10 years, they're up 40, 50%. So a 12% drawback is like nothing, right? Yep. What are you seeing kind of boots on the ground in? And I'm asking specifically about like maybe Phoenix, because I know it's one of those cities that you're hearing like, oh, you're getting all these decreases, like homes are going on sale, figuratively and literally, like, right? But like, are you seeing that, or is that just like fake headline news?
No. I mean, look, I think so Arizona and like other markets around the country are historically known for like large fluctuations, right? So when you look at like an Arizona, Vegas, maybe like a Georgia, places like this, it's very different than like an Iowa, right? For example, like, so like any market that appreciates a lot during good times will go down a lot during bad times. And then, you look at a place like Iowa, it doesn't appreciate a lot during good times. So therefore it doesn't go down a lot in bad times, right? Because like over the course of 10 years, your house goes up in like $3,000 in value, right? So there are certain markets around the country that just the price doesn't change a lot, right? Like up or down. We're in one of the markets that does change a lot. But with that being said, the demand in Arizona is unparalleled. I mean, like, the amount of people moving here compared to the amount of people leaving is like ridiculous. Like, I think there's some statistics out there floating around that there's like 200 or 300 families per day that have been moving to Arizona since like 2020. So, like, if you do the math, like 200 or 300 people a day times, 365 days a year times 5 years, that's a lot of freaking people, right? So, the market here, I have not seen really go down at all. What you're seeing, I think, more of, which I think people kind of assume that it's going down, is just the fact that demand has dropped nationwide because of interest rates. When you look at it, supply hasn't gone up and demand has dropped, and because everybody that refinanced or bought during COVID, their interest rate is so low that nobody in their right mind is going to trade a 3% interest rate for a 6% interest rate. And so therefore, they don't sell. So what we've seen over the last couple of years is that the demand has gone down because less people want to buy in a 6 or 7% interest rate type of market. And the supply hasn't gone up because less people want to sell in that type of environment. And so what you've kind of found yourself in is a situation where we've kind of just flatlined, right? Like, we're not really going down. I don't think what I think has happened is that, we're comparing to a season of life where there was 30 offers on every house, right? And that was a very unrealistic season of life. And so that season, of course, drove prices way up because people were overpaying. They were waiving their appraisals. They were like waiving all the contingencies. There was no seller concessions. Like, and then now we're just in a normal market, right? But like people are comparing to this kind of abnormal market. And so I think we're in a very healthy market right now. I actually think that the next 2 to 3, 4 years of the real estate market will be very, very good across the nation, especially in places like Arizona, but across the nation. Jerome Powell, he's out of there May 15th, right? Trump, they're saying he's probably going to put Kevin Hassett in there. There's like an 84% chance if you look on Polymarket. Kevin Hassett is notoriously known for cheaper money, right? Cheaper rates. And, Donald Trump, obviously you love him or you hate him. He's a real estate guy. He wants more than anybody on the planet to have a lower 10-year treasury. So, we're going to go, we have the Fed meeting, I think, next week. And so I think Polymarket has the chances of a 25 basis point drop at like 94%. So that'll happen next week. So we're going to continue to see that throughout the next. And I think once you get to maybe in the fives on the interest rate on the 30-year mortgage, I think you're going to start to see the demand go way up. And I actually think you're also going to see supply tick up too, because it's going to unlock a lot of the people that were waiting to be able to trade into a different home, right? So, I don't know exactly how it'll all shake out in terms of, does that send prices up? Does it keep prices kind of the same? But because supply and demand go up at the same time, so therefore prices kind of stay flat, but there's more activity. But what I don't think will happen is I do not see a world in the next couple of years where prices come way down, right? Like I do not think that is the world that we're going to see. I think that if at the worst case scenario, prices stay the same or they go up.
I agree with you. And you know a lot more about this game than I do, but I agree because I can tell you personally, I have a couple like 10, 15 unit projects that I bought in 2021. They're doing great, but I was expecting to refi by now and I had to wait, right? So I'm waiting on that. And I have a 7.35% interest rate on a short-term rental that's doing fine. But when that gets into the fives, I'm going to refi. So it's not just home sales and buyers, but like the entire market is going to uptick again. You know what I find fascinating though, is that when I talk to a lot of people in real estate, they always say every single time, what a weird market. And I'm like, dude, you've never said that this is a normal market when you're in it. You've never said it, because COVID was a weird market. And before that, it was like, oh, I thought we were going to have a recession and we didn't. So I just think people should just get used to the uncertainty. That is normal. Yeah. The uncertainty is normal, because if anybody could predict the future, we'd all be multi-billionaires, right?
Yeah.
So,
and the thing about real estate, man, is that nobody who's ever held for 10 or 15 years has ever lost $1 on anything.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's really true with anything, with stock market, with crypto. If you buy and hold, you're not going to lose money, right? The people who lose are the people who buy at the top and sell at the bottom because they're forced to sell.
Traders, essentially.
The people who over leverage themselves, whatever the case is. So just don't over leverage yourself. Dollar cost average into the market, whether it be the stock market, crypto, real estate, whatever it is. Buy at the bottom, buy in the middle, buy at the top. It'll average itself out and hold for the long term, right? Anybody who does that, who's patient, will be rewarded in a huge way.
Without a doubt. I mean, if you're listening to the show, just think in decades. And it doesn't have to be 3 decades. I'm not telling you right now to think like, I'm 30, I got to think when I'm 60. But if you think in 5 to 10 year time horizons, you are not going to lose. Now, if you think in 6 months, it's going to be tough. Like it's going to be hard for you to, anybody that's thinking like, this is the Wealth Juice podcast, go create wealth. Don't think you're going to escape your job in the next year, right? But like if you put your mind to it, 5 to 10 years from now, it can be beautiful, right?
Totally.
So, I love it, man. I want to be respectful of your time. This is awesome. I could talk to you all day, but for people that want to learn more about you, your story, follow your journey, let's blow up that YouTube channel, right? Yeah. I mean, shout out to your YouTube channel. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, your team, if maybe they want to learn wholesaling or whatnot?
Yes, I'm at Austin Zaback on every platform. So no weird underscores or anything like that. I got blessed with a rare last name. So at Austin Zaback on every platform. That's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, you name it.
Austin, great to chat with you, man. I'm hoping to stay connected. This has been an awesome convo.
Heck yeah, Corey. I appreciate you having me, brother. I'd love to come on again.
Love it. Before we wrap this show up, I want to leave you with this. If you're listening to the show, chances are you're doing pretty well in your career. You're making maybe 6 figures. You're putting money into your retirement accounts, maybe stacking some cash in a brokerage account, but you're still waiting for that next level. And here's the truth, waiting just costs you time. Every month you're on the sidelines is another month you could have had a property paying you and another step closer to financial freedom that you didn't take. Ryan and I know this because we stayed on the sidelines too long. We talk about this sometimes. We had the money, but not the guidance. And once we finally got our first property, everything shifted. It was the catalyst that built our entire portfolio and ultimately gave us freedom. And that's exactly why we built the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, to cut out wasted time, just give you the exact blueprint and surround you with a network of people who are closing deals every single week. So if you're tired of waiting and you're ready to finally get your first deal, click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me. Let's map out your strategy and get you moving before another year slips by.